Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, the meeting of council for the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe. It's Tuesday, October the 22nd at 7 p.m. and I'd like to welcome everyone who's in the gallery. Our treasurer is here, but just not in the room at this time. And our public works manager is sick, so he is not here. But otherwise, everyone is here. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, then, can I have a motion to approve the minutes that have been presented to you? You've had time to read them over. If there's no errors and omissions, do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda is the delegation and timed events. So we have a recommendation that the council convene as the Committee of Adjustment at 7:01 p.m. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The purpose of the upcoming Committee of Adjustment and public meeting is to provide council, the Committee of Adjustment, and the general public an opportunity to hear from all interested parties regarding the applications being discussed this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. In respect to the Committee of Adjustment applications, only the applicant or a public body can appeal a Committee of Adjustment decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. This must be filed within 20 days from the date of the decision. In respect to the public meeting applications, if a person or public body does not speak to the application at the public meeting or make written submissions to the township, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the council decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal or be added as a party to an appeal of the decision to the tribunal. If you wish to be notified of the decision in writing, please submit a written request to the clerk. Okay, now that we have that housekeeping looked after, the next item up is an application for consent B072024. Owners Joseph and Deborah Joris, and it's in reference to 3023 Napperton Drive. And I'll turn the meeting over at this time to our planner, Erin Besh.
Thank you, Chair. Share my screen here. Okay, so the first application before the committee this evening, the committee shall be or should be fairly familiar with this. It was originally brought in front of the committee in September. It is requesting to sever 2 additional lots from a larger parcel of land, which is 5 acres in total. And the purpose of this is for residential development. So at the September Committee of Adjustment meeting, Council directed staff to prepare a recommended list of conditions to go along with the consent. It was not originally brought forward as planning staff's recommendation was denial of the application. However, I have in my memo put together all of the comments that were received through the consultation process, and then subsequent to that, the conditions of approval that were sort of built upon those comments. So they are fairly standard surplus farm, or sorry, not surplus farm dwelling severances. Conditions for lot creation, save and except for, of course, the road widening dedication along Napperton Drive, which is the 15 meters to the center line. Number 6, which is derived from a comment from the county engineer, who just explained that physical roads or driveway connections between the severed and retained parcels that would allow vehicles to travel between these parcels must be removed or altered in such a way to not permit travel between these parcels. Additionally, I wanted to add condition number 8, which speaks to hydro services being separated, which is a standard condition for consents of this nature, a 911 address, and then of course, the reference plan that's required. So that is all from me, and I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Erin. Do the applicants, Deb or Joe, do you wish to speak on behalf of the application? You don't have to, but if you'd like to. Okay, all right. Does council have any questions for Aaron? I think we kind of talked about it before. All right, is there anyone else in the gallery that would like to speak for this or against this application? Okay. Then we have a recommendation that the application for consent B 7-2024 submitted under section 53 of the Planning Act be granted, subject to the following conditions, and I won't reread them. There are 11 on there that you've had the opportunity to read through. So subject to the following conditions that the application for consent B 7-2024 be granted. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor Brody, seconded by Counselor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, you're up again, Aaron. Application for consent B 08-2024. The owner is W. DeBoer Incorporated and the agent is Ashley Podlinski from Mackenzie Lake Lawyers, and it's in reference to 25674 Napier Road. And I'll turn it over to Aaron now.
Thank you again, Chair. So the purpose of this application is to permit the severance of a residence from a larger farm parcel that has been deemed surplus to the needs of the farming operation. Along with the consent application, we have also received an application for rezoning, which, usually we have the consent application that goes first. In a subsequent meeting, we would bring forward a zoning bylaw amendment. However, in this situation, we are sort of expediting the process and doing the public meetings at one time. So I will go through one report with both considerations. Of course, we're dealing through the Committee of Adjustment with the consent and then in General Council with the zoning application. So the purpose of the zoning application is to rezone the lands to be severed from the general agricultural zone to a site-specific surplus dwelling zone to recognize the residential nature of this new lot, as well as to recognize the size of the existing accessory building. I'm going to zoom in on my location map. This picture shows the site as a whole. And then of course, this is not an accurate reflection of what is on site currently. This is an older aerial photo from 2020. So most of these structures have been removed. Really, we are dealing with one older home as well as 3 accessory buildings. 2 of these accessory buildings fall under the size restriction of the SD zone, so they do not need to be recognized. But however, one of them does exceed that 75 square meters. So that's why we're requesting a site-specific zone this evening. So the lot to be severed would be approximately half a hectare or 1.4 acres in size. Again, the residential lot contains an existing single detached dwelling with private services and 3 detached sheds. The lands proposed to be retained are mostly within crop production, and it does appear to have an access off of Murphy Drive. And of course, there is a portion of this property that is also regulated by the Conservation Authority. However, it's not impacted by this severance. One additional thing that I'd like to note is that the house is not currently habitable. So I have discussed with the applicant's lawyer prior to them providing an application, that this is really the crux of this type of application, that they have a house that is habitable. We're not, sort of circumventing the lot creation process by severing a house that is not able to be lived in. So they have committed, the purchasers of this property have committed to bringing that house up to habitable standards as a condition of the consent. Should they not be able to do so, or if they, I guess, choose not to, then the consent would fail and then just lapse. So the application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. I did receive comments from the chief building official that the septic system needs to be demonstrated to be in good working order and confirmed to be wholly located on the severed portion. And again, that the habitability of the dwelling be confirmed prior to the consent being finalized. Our chief building official has advised in the past that he does not have a concern with requiring habitability standards to be conditionalized as part of approval. And they do have sort of a list of items that they have agreed on would make it a habitable home. So it's not necessarily aesthetic things. It's very much, you know, no holes in the roof, no broken windows. It has a working water system and all of that. In terms of the drainage superintendent, there's no reapportionment that is required. The safety and standards officer of Middlesex County sort of noted that there are 2 addresses that have been assigned to this property, assumedly because there used to be 2 dwellings on this sort of area. So through this application, I've noted a condition where we appropriately address both the severed and the retained lot. So we determine which, you know, is it 684 or is it 674, and remove one of those addresses, and as well dedicate an address to the retained farm parcel. And no other comments or concerns were received. So I'm satisfied that the application meets the standards of the provincial policy statement, the county official plan, and the local official plan. Farming consolidation has been achieved in that this is part of a larger operation. They own multiple properties and multiple homes. Again, conditionalizing the habitability of the home would satisfy that condition of our official plan, and that the lot is small enough to really contain the house, the accessory buildings, and these services on site. I don't have an issue with permitting the accessory buildings to be included with the residential lot. And of course, just recognizing through the zoning that one of them does exceed the 75 square meters. So my recommendation for the consent portion this evening is approval, subject to the 10 conditions that have been outlined, which are all standards surplus farm dwelling severance conditions, save and except for number 7, which is the existing dwelling be brought up to habitable standards to the satisfaction of the chief building official. And that's really the only different condition. And then finally, my recommendation for the zoning bylaw amendment be approved. I have provided a draft bylaw for your consideration this evening. So I'm open to any questions.
At this time, we're just looking at the surplus farm dwelling severance. We're not looking at the bylaw. We'll do that later in the meeting. Is there the applicant, Teresa, or anybody, do you want to speak to the application? Oh, no, it's Ashley. Wrong one. I went ahead in my paper, sorry. Do you want to? Yeah. Okay, that's good. Ashley, I'm sorry. Is there anything you'd like to add to the application? Okay, I was just making sure everybody's on their toes. That's good. Okay, are there any questions from council? The only comment, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mike. Yep.
More of a comment than a question, but it will be nice to have that property cleaned up.
Yeah, there's a long history and everything that's been done there is an improvement, that's for sure, over the years. So, and just a reminder, everybody, they have, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, 2 years to meet that condition. Correct? Okay. All right, is there anyone in the gallery, Teresa, that wants to speak for or against this application? It's seeing none, then we have a motion before us. I'm not going to read through all the conditions. So there's a recommendation that the application for consent B082024 submitted under section 53 of the Planning Act be granted, subject to the conditions that were read out. There's specifically 10 there. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, second by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're working our way through the list. The last one up, Aaron, is application for consent B09-2024. The owners Murray Van Grisvin. How do you say that? Grinsvin? Grinsvin? Okay, thank you. And the agents are Ron and Teresa Fishner. And it's regarding Lot 24, Concession 1, SER, Part 3, Plan 33R1396. And I'll turn this over to our planner, Erin, again.
Thank you again, Chair. So there's no 911 number assigned to this property. That's why you had to read out that long legal description. Before I start, I just want to note that although this is a lot addition for 3801, the subject property really is the larger farm piece. So I've left my location map up that shows the piece as a whole. So it fronts onto Egremont and has, of course, frontage onto the 402 as well. I'm just going to switch over to sort of a closer perspective here. So the purpose of this application is to convey a 0.49 hectare parcel of land from the subject property, which would be merged with the adjacent lands to the west, known as 3801 Egremont Drive. The subject property as a whole is approximately 57 hectares in size. The property is vacant of any buildings or structures and is primarily in crop production. The southern portion of the property does contain several significant woodlands, and there's also an Esso Imperial Oil pipeline that runs east-west across the center of the property, but it is not at all impacted by the proposal this evening. So the applicants have advised that a portion of their driveway that you can see on the location map, a portion of the driveway that provides access to their business at the rear of the property is currently located on the neighboring property, which is our subject lands this evening. They also use a portion of the subject lands to the south just for some outdoor storage, just sort of a bit of a graveled area here. And there's also another building that they use as part of their business here. So really the intent of the proposal is to ensure that or sort of recognize what is currently there. This business has been in operation for 29 years, and this driveway has been there that entire time. So really, this is not something that has popped up overnight and now they're asking for permission to have. This is something that is a longstanding sort of situation here. So the land to be conveyed would be approximately 19 meters wide, a depth of 200 meters and an area of, again, about half a hectare or 1.2 acres. I will also note that once enlarged, the 3801 Egremont parcel would be 4 acres in size, and the lands to be retained would be approximately 140 acres in size. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The drainage superintendent advised that a reapportionment will be required. Again, this is fairly common for consents that occur in the rural area. The county engineer also advised a road widening dedication of up to 18 meters from the center line of County Road 22. I've calculated this to be about 4 or 5 meters off of the front of the property. The applicants have been advised of this as well. We did talk about sort of the what the impact of that would be for them, primarily being, having the entire frontage surveyed and then deeded to the county after the consent is finalized. I did not receive any other concerns or comments from agencies or the public. So in terms of my analysis of the application, the PPS county official plan and local official plan all provide policies regarding lot additions and like minor lot boundary adjustments. They allow for these for what they call legal or technical reasons. And this is defined under the PPS as severances for purposes such as easements, corrections of deeds, quit claims, and minor boundary adjustments, which do not result in the creation of a new lot. So one of the requirements of this consent is that this portion of the property must merge with the larger 3801. It cannot be a standalone property. It is not to be separately conveyable, and it must merge on title. Again, I just noted that this business has been in operation for many years. And this is, while generally the expansion of a rural residential property for these types of uses, we have to walk a fine line about that because we don't want to, again, then put the driveway in and then come in and ask for recognition of that, just, perhaps to enlarge the property, enlarge the property, enlarge the property. This is very much a well-established situation. As part of that, I do also note too that the larger farm property is 140 acres. After this portion is removed, it will still be far exceeding the minimum lot requirement of the agricultural zone. So, there's no impact on agricultural land. They're not taking anything out of production. So overall, I am satisfied that this condition or this consent is supportable. So I have provided a list of conditions. They are eight conditions on my report. So my recommendation this evening is approval subject to these conditions. All pretty standard for severances of this nature, save and except for number 6, which is the requirement that the lands be merged. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Erin. Teresa and Ron, is there anything you'd like to add? You don't have to, but if there is.
So, and we had talked about it at the time, and they said, well, it won't be a problem because they own it, and then now my brother owns it, but he's thinking about selling it, and that's why we're more concerned about just, we're not trying to make our property bigger and bigger. We
Just tidy up the property, the parcel, yeah, from a boundary standpoint, okay. Any questions, council, for Erin? I have a question, and it's more to educate me. Like when we sever a surplus farm dwelling, or if it's on a county road and you're creating a lot, there's a 15-meter setback, so why 18 meters in this case? Can you speak to that?
Certainly, to the chair, it depends on the classification of the road. So this is classified as a 4-lane arterial road. So it has a minimum right-of-way width of 36 meters. So that's 18 meters on either side. If it's a collector road, then it is the 15 because it's 30 meters right away.
Perfect. Thanks for explaining that. Okay, is there anyone in the gallery that wishes to comment or speak to this application? Okay, seeing none. You've gone through all the conditions, Aaron, so I won't read the 8 of them out again. We have a recommendation that the application for consent B09-2024 submitted under section 53 of the Planning Act be approved, subject to the conditions that were read out. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks. Okay, that brings us to the end of those types of the committee of adjustment applications. So it is now 7:24. We have a recommendation that the committee of adjustment be adjourned at 7:24. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is our public meeting. We have a recommendation that council convene and do a public meeting at 7:24 p.m. Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, Aaron, you're on deck again. Application for zoning bylaw amendment Z11-2024. The owner's Brenda Pedden Boyce, and it's regarding 10625 Townsend Line, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. So this property probably seems familiar. We have done a number of these temporary use bylaw extensions. So the purpose of this application is to continue to permit the subject property to be used for a golf driving range and learning facility. We've identified it as a temporary period of time. Under the Planning Act, it's a requirement that it can be a maximum of 3 years. That's why we had a previous application in 2021 and before that 2018. So I won't go into too much analysis, still supportive of the application. I will note that we are, again, currently going through our official plan review. It is one of our items to recognize this property through, or to recommend to council that this be, perhaps a special policy area or something to recognize this as a use so that they wouldn't need to come in for any more of these temporary use extensions. So that being said, I did not receive any comments or concerns on the application, and my recommendation is approval with 3 readings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Erin. Are there any questions for Erin from council? I'm glad that you mentioned the official plan because we do have unique spots within the municipality that need to be addressed, and hopefully the OP, once we land on a final OP, well, that'll rectify that. So, all right, seeing no questions, we have a recommendation, the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z011-2024 be approved and proceed with the first, second, and third reading of the implementing bylaw. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next up, you've already spoken to this, the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z2-2024, W. DeBoer Incorporated. The agent is Ashley Palminski from Mackenzie Lake. And once again, it's in reference to 25574 Napier Road. This is the property that we just approved a severance of a surplus farm dwelling on. And I'll turn it over to you briefly, Erin, because you've already touched upon most of the subject matter.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. My recommendation is approval. Drafted a bylaw for your consideration this evening. The only special item is really that it's a site-specific surplus dwelling zone to recognize the size of the shed. Thank you.
And for clarity, the zoning wouldn't be done until after the conditions are met for the severing of the surplus dwelling, correct? Or not necessarily?
Through Mayor Clark, it does need to be in full force and effect as a condition of approval. So we do finalize the zoning. In the event that the consent were to fail, the zoning bylaw has been passed and it is in effect. So we don't have too many of those that occur, but might need to be tidied up through like a housekeeping amendment or something.
Okay, thanks I'm just causing trouble wanting to clarify things. In an argumentative mood tonight, sorry. Okay, so any questions for Erin on this one? Seeing none, then, oh, sorry, Ashley, would you like to speak to this? No? Okay. And Therese is gone, so we won't ask her. Okay, so we have a recommendation that the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z12-2024 be approved and given 3 readings. Mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma, all in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we have a recommendation that council adjourn the public meeting at 7:29 PM and reconvene into regular session of council. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon, all in favor, and that's carried. Thanks. Okay, so that ends that part of the meeting, and next up is we'll be getting a presentation regarding a broadband update from Middlesex County, our head of IT, Chris Bailey. So we'll give Erin a minute to tidy up there and then Chris will jump in. I don't know if there's a hockey game tonight, if I've got pressure to perform quickly. I'm not sure. Anyway. So Chris, whenever you're ready, come on up. No rush.
Hello again, everybody. Been a while since I've been here. Tonight I am going to provide an update on 3 different pieces of the broadband projects that are happening in Adelaide Metcalfe. through the mayor to council. The first is a swift completion update. I presented at county council today. On October 8th, we received notice from Swift that the project is officially completed. In terms of, local impact on Adelaide Metcalfe, I'm just going to share my screen here because one of the 7 projects in Middlesex County did take place in Adelaide Metcalfe and a little bit in Strathroy Caradoc. The ISP for that project was Execulink. Project value was $1.372 million. 174 premises were covered, and 17.2 kilometers of fiber were laid. I'm just going to share a map so I can show you what that project looked like. So here it is here. So it's in the Napperton and Kerwood area for Adelaide Metcalfe there. So that was the Swift project. So it's officially completed. Swift will be monitoring the project for 4 years to ensure that ISPs are compliant with the funding requirements for that project. So that is the Swift update. Does anyone have any questions about that update?
Are there any questions for Chris?
Sure.
Okay, Counselor Kingman.
Yeah, I'm just a little curious through the mayor to Bailey, what happens to Swift? Are they defunct?
Actually, they have just received new funding. I don't have all the information, but they're calling it Swift 2.0. I don't have the information in front of me, but I do know that they have received some additional funding from the province. So they are planning to add some additional residences across southwestern Ontario.
Okay, Chris, not to put you on the spots, and I'm sorry I didn't give you a heads up. I was gonna ask this question, but so we did have some feedback from residents that they could see where the line was and they were a new house that wasn't in the template or the contractual agreement when the lines were laid, and they're new houses that can see the connection but can't touch it or they don't have it. So what's the plan for those newer houses that haven't got access? They can see it, but it just doesn't come far enough down the road.
And is this for the Swift project or the
Sorry,
current
just-
ASIP project? Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to touch on that
Oh,
next.
okay, sorry.
I will answer that question as well.
Okay,
I don't have specifics to it, but I can answer it. So yeah, my next update is Adelaide Metcalfe is broken up into 2 lots, they're called, for the accelerated high-speed internet project. Basically the entire top northern half, the majority of Adelaide Metcalfe is covered under a lot by NFTC. The project through NFTC is coming very, very soon. I'll show you a map in a second that has dates on it with availability. I've spoken with Mike, the clerk. He's going to post some information on your social media and your website where residents can go to get signed up for the service. That project, let me share my screen here and I'll show you what we're looking at for that one. So here's a view here. It's really colorful. I didn't write this map, but this was provided to me by NFTC. All the yellow lines are fiber that is completed. You'll see in Mullaferry, there's a blue line. That's the remaining conduit that they need to run for fiber. But each of these different sections, you'll see there's dates, and these are the service availability dates. They said it is depending on weather, so they weren't guaranteeing these dates on this map. But if you look down to the south here, October 25th. So we're a few days away from services being available in different parts of the township. And, looking at this map, I think when I originally presented ASIP to this group, it's really nice to see this many lines on a map compared to some other projects that we've seen that really didn't include a lot of residents. So in terms of answering your question, Mayor Clark, there is no official way to present new properties. I have spoken with Infrastructure Ontario about that. I did not get a clear answer. I will ask them again and see if there's some way we can figure out a way, because I agree, if someone's has a residence that's just been added and, they're 500 meters up the road, there should be some type of way for them to apply for that funding, or at least put their name on a list to hopefully extend that line. So I don't have an official answer for you. I have asked Infrastructure Ontario about it. But I will ask again and hopefully get an answer for you, and I can come back, and I am planning to come back to present, because the next piece I want to talk about is the additional lot that really is mostly like the southern tip of the township. This lot is Explore. I was about to say Explore Net. They've rebranded as Explore now. So originally this was going to be a wireless only lot. So they were going to run fiber to towers and provide wireless access only to this lot. It has now moved into be a hybrid lot, and will include fiber as well as wireless. I haven't been provided maps or timelines, so I can't provide you any visuals. I can tell you, though, that the project must be complete by December 31st, 2025 for them to comply with the funding requirements from the province. So I'm hoping to get some more information on that. When I have it, I will be coming back. I can let you know actually this week. They've applied for, I think we're at 16 permits in Southwest Middlesex, which is where the project's going to start, and they're going to move north to the south of Adelaide Metcalfe to end off the project.
And that's Explore, the
Yes.
Explore Net one, okay. All right, when you speak of lot, do you mean like a lot, like a package or a specific lot?
So the province, we had no say in this one. For the ASIP project, they broke all of Ontario into specific map lots. So we didn't have any say. They just said you were lot 50, you're lot 51, 49. So in the county, we consist of 3 lots in Middlesex County. And Adelaide Metcalfe just happened to be a little bit split on the south end. So we didn't have any say in it, but yeah, that's how it kind of panned out there.
Thank you. Councillor Brody, you have a question?
Just a comment through the mayor, just to add on to what she said, that there were spots that. And I don't know who looked into where these houses were, but I have a property that the house has been gone for 10 years. They had to cross a ditch. And it stopped at my place, no house there for 10 years, and then there's the next house and it didn't go to it. So like I just don't get where the legwork on some, I get maybe that it's tough, but there was some legwork that didn't get done very well.
Yeah, through the mayor to the councillor, I've heard that feedback from others as well. Again, unfortunately, this one was very much out of our hands, much more so than SWIFT, because there was municipal contributions to the SWIFT project, so we did have some say where that went.
So maybe going forward, should be more something at the municipal level or.
Yep.
It wouldn't take much.
Yep, I agree for sure.
It wouldn't take much.
Another thing I did want to say is, and I know Coulter's not here, I just wanted to give a shout out to Coulter and his team, because NFTC has commented multiple times on how easy they've been to work with on the permitting process. This lot is actually being used by Infrastructure Ontario as kind of the shining example of the success of the ASIP project. NFTC, the day after they were announced as the lot winner, or the ones who won the bid for this lot, they had shovels in the ground within 2 months. So some of these other lots, like I'm saying, down, the Explore lot, they're just starting permitting. The other lot in Middlesex County, they've only been doing permitting for a few months. So very fortunate in Adelaide Metcalfe to be about a year ahead of the game on almost every other project in the entire province on this project. So definitely wanted to make sure that Coulter and his team got a little shout out here, because NFTC just said they've been really easy to work with. So it's been good for them.
Yeah, and as a follow-up to your comment, Coulter himself has been good, and that there were a few property owners in Kerwood where they kind of needed some follow-up on finishing, how do I say it nicely, putting the landscape back to how it was. And he was instrumental in that, and it got done fairly quickly. So we're happy with that. Any other questions? Comments? Any other, I thought you were done before, so that's why I jumped in. So I didn't realize you had different buckets to talk about.
I had 3 buckets. So yeah, I am finished. Thank you very much for having me. If anyone has any questions, right, and I will have a follow-up for sure once I have some more information about that other lot. And as I mentioned, there'll be some stuff on the website for residents so they can get signed up for the service. And if things stay as I was told, it's within the next week, some people in the township are going to have fiber internet to their homes, which is great.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, Chris, thanks for taking the time to come out. I know it's been a long day. You were at county council earlier. So we have a recommendation that council receive the broadband update presentation as information. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks again, Chris. Okay, next up on the agenda, 5D, the procedure bylaw. I'll turn the meeting over at this time to our legislative clerk, Michael Barnier.
Thank you. Through the mayor to members of council. Probably the least exciting of the public meeting portion we have here today, but the purpose of the meeting is to present a new procedure bylaw, which provides rules for governing the order and procedures of council. As you remember, the draft procedure bylaw was presented at the September 16th meeting of council. At that time is approved in principle, and in accordance with the notice bylaw, public notice was circulated through the banner, social media, and the website. The bylaw, in essence, we're just looking to modernize the language, simplify various components of the bylaw, and add tools such as a consent agenda. Through the circulation, we received feedback from one resident. I would say 90% of their current concerns we accommodated, but most of it was pretty minor. Just some language change from the his or her to their, fixed minor font, formatting and punctuation issues. Removed one clause, very similar to the one below it, 6.1. Section 4.3, public meetings. I changed the name of delegation to attendees to avoid confusion with 7.1, which is actual delegations. Sometimes we use it interchangeably, but we just made sure that distinction was clear. And the really good point out of the feedback was section 8.8, which was adjournment. It's been changed to reflect hours instead of specific time. So we had it before, it was 7 o'clock and the meeting could only go till 10 and extend it. Now it's just hours in total if we have a day meeting or whatever. So still the same procedure that you council will have to, the majority of council will have to vote to extend the length of the meeting. So those are the changes I took from the feedback. That's all the feedback I had. And as you see, I don't think there's anyone in the gallery unless you guys want to speak to the procedural bylaw. Available for any questions on it, but the recommendation is ultimately that the council approve the procedure bylaw and enact the implementing bylaw at the end of council.
Okay, are there any questions for Mike? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that council approve the procedure bylaw and enact the implementing bylaw. I have a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is the correspondence, upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. The next meeting of Adelaide Metcalfe Council is on November the 4th at 7 p.m., followed by a meeting on Monday, November the 18th at 7 p.m. We have recommended readings. CC number 1, the Asaba Bayfield Maitland Valley Source Water Protection Region, the October 2024 newsletter. CC number 2, St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, September 2024 meeting highlights. Councillor McKenna, is there anything you want to highlight, or it's pretty self-explanatory? Okay.
Thank you. The province has just frozen the planning fees, and we're saying we wanted it to be user pay. And if they freeze it, it's not user pay system. So that was our only concern as well.
Okay, thank you. CC number 3, St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, the draft conservation land strategy. Okay, CC number 4, Middlesex County highlights from October the 8th. CC number 5, the Thames Valley District School Board Initial Attendance Area Review Report, Adelaide Metcalfe and Strathroy Caradoc Elementary Panel Attendance Review. So none of this surprises me. I went to a Thames Valley District School Board meeting some months ago, and Arlene Morel mentioned that this would be forthcoming. So is there any comment? Councillor Kingma.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clerk. I read the report, and I'm a little uncomfortable being an idle bystander to this attendance review, I think. And I wonder what council thinks. I don't know if I'm an outlier on this way of thinking, but if we were to make some sort of formal correspondence to the advisory committee that's overseeing this process that Adelaide WG McDonald School, we insist that they be properly resourced and utilized long into the future, independent of whatever, reassigned geographic decision or student apportionment decisions are made, that our school will be properly protected.
And I think it would have been nice that we would have been consulted prior to the report to have some input, but that did not happen. So, Morgan, would you like to say something?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Clerk to Council. I did sit on the initial discussion with Thames Valley District School Board. I forget the gentleman's name. He used to work for the county. Yeah, Ben Puznoff. Dirk was there. Aaron, I believe you were there. We did have an opportunity to dig into what that attendance area review looked like, change some language in some cases, but I didn't have any indication. I asked a number of questions about the viability of the school. I had no indication that there was going to be any issues with the future viability of that school. Looks like they're going to potentially be bringing in a new school into Strathroy, moving students in and around Mount Bridges, up into Strathroy Caradoc or in Strathroy Village, and then leaving Adelaide McDonald generally alone. It looked like they were going to achieve, off the top of my head, I think it was like 97% attendance rate by 2035 or something like that. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Happy to further correspond with Thames Valley on behalf of council if you wish, but I think I don't think there is too many concerns in terms of the viability of the school.
Sir Kingma, follow up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Clark, to Morgan. Yeah, I agree that I don't foresee an imminent threat, so to speak, to the viability. But I also see an opportunity to get ahead of a discussion that is certain to involve Adelaide WG McDonald School. And if we can just convey in some fashion, in some correspondence maybe to this advisory committee, that we are watching them very carefully and are prepared to maintain the high capacity and utilization of that school.
Okay, not to put thoughts and words into your head, but would you be prepared to make a motion to direct staff to initiate discussions with Thames Valley District School Board on future viability and a more fulsome response as to the usage of the school? Or what are you thinking?
Okay, we'll see what council thinks about this. That council directs staff to correspond with ADMAC administration as well. And that Adelaide Metcalfe Council wishes the advisory committee to take seriously our strong desire to have long-term future viability of an elementary school in our township.
So by written notice, is that how you'd like that to happen? Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Would you? Okay. Seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, next up for action required, even though we took some action there, is CC number 6. We have a resolution request from the Township of Brock regarding rideshare services. CC number 7, a resolution request for support on the Asaba Bayfield Conservation Authority Minister's direction of fees. Okay, is there a seconder for that? No seconder, okay. All right, we'll leave that. CC number 8, a resolution to support the town of Tilsonburg regarding continuing funding to support Southwest Community Transit. Counselor Kingma?
I would like to support this insofar as I know that our friends in Strathroy Caradoc find this service very meaningful. And with funding set to expire in March of 2025, it's going to impact thousands of people should this not be renewed. It's proving to be a valuable service. So as a gesture of support for Strathroy, I think this could be supported.
Okay, thank you. Is there, I'm taking that's a motion to support. Is there a seconder? Moved by Counselor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, CC number 9, a resolution to support the town of Coburg regarding support of involuntary care for individuals with severe mental health and addictions. CC number 10, a request to support a resolution from the municipality of South Huron regarding a heritage advisory committee. Okay. Could I have a motion that council receive and file correspondence items CC 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, and 10? Moved by Counselor Kingma, seconded by Counselor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, we're on to our staff reports. 7A, we have a third quarter activity report for 2024 and a fire services review update from our Chief Parker from the fire department. Turn it over to you, Chief Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. This report presents the activities of the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department for the third quarter of 2024. It includes the breakdown of calls by type, firefighter training, fire inspections, and updates on the fire services review, health and safety matters. The third quarter of 2024 was relatively quiet, especially during the summer months, which was welcomed by the firefighters. The Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department responded to 15 incidents within the township, including 2 mutual aid calls to assist other departments, 6 motor vehicle collisions, 1 accidental alarm activation, 1 carbon monoxide call with no CO detected, 2 outdoor fires, 1 involving a biosolid pile, and 2 calls that were canceled by Car 1 as no longer required. In the month of July, we experienced a significant rainfall, which likely contributed to reduction in grass fires, wheat, and helped with combines during the harvest. The flooding on July 16th was substantial, leading to the closure of the 402 and forcing heavy traffic onto the Curwood Road. Chief, myself, and Deputy Taminga were requested by Warwick Fire to assist with traffic control as many secondary roads were closed or washed out in both directions. So while the flooring renovation project was initiated with several members of the department involved in removing the old flooring and preparing for the installation of the new epoxy floor covering, the department participated in the Adelaide Metcalfe sports event where we set up a fire prevention and display table. It was a great opportunity to engage with the kids and parents about fire safety. The department also encouraged children to remind their parents to test smoke alarms at home, often using plastic fire helmets as a great incentive. And in August, Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Association, we held our annual fish fry on August 24th, which was a sold-out event. The weather was exceptional that evening. Now, this year, the fire department was fortunate to receive extra help from 6 local high school students who volunteered for the event. The students assisted with serving food and took on the significant task of cleaning up afterwards. Feedback from the attendees and firefighters was overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing appreciation for the students' involvement. The participation of these young volunteers made a positive impression on the community, highlighting their engagement and impact. As well, preliminary reviews for 2025 capital budget was also initiated. September, $5,000 grant was awarded to the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department from Enbridge Gas through the Fire Marshal's Public Safety Council for firefighting training materials and videos. Media Day is being planned for November to show our appreciation for the grant. As well, September the 12th, ATCO NPower held an emergency exercise day involving mock medical evacuation of a wind turbine technician from 300 feet in the air to ground level first responders. London Middlesex EMS, fire chiefs from North Middlesex, and deputy chief from Strathroy Caradoc, along with myself and 3 firefighters, and Nicole Lewis from administration participated in the exercise. Following, we had a quick debrief is held to discuss roles and responsibilities during such emergencies. As well, September 23rd, representatives for Some Canada Pipe visited the fire hall. They introduced their management team, emergency management planning, and Adelaide Metcalfe's role in case of pipeline emergencies were key topics of discussing during the meeting. September the 26th, members again conducted a walkthrough at the Holiday Inn Express to review high-rise firefighting techniques. Emergency procedures were practiced, with Holiday Inn Express being very accommodating to allow the department to conduct the drills on site. Fire Prevention Officer Kyle Kirsavovich. Kyle continues to do a fabulous job for us. He has been focusing on Center Road businesses and commercial buildings. He has inspected 1 Group C, the Strathroy Motor Inn, 1 Group E, Mercantile, the Pita Pit, 1 Group C residential on Melbourne Road, 1 Group E and F Mercantile Industrial at Rona, Moffat and Powell, and 1 Group Assembly at the Grace Canadian Reformed Church. Fire Services Review remains an ongoing process, with 80% of the recommendations already addressed. Upcoming initiatives include tanker shuttle accreditation, which will be pursued once the new tanker has been acquired. The review also suggests hosting an information, seminar for council titled Municipal Officials Essentials of Fire Protection. I've contacted the Fire Marshal's office to explore the best approach for delivering this seminar to council. The Adelaide Metcalfe Health and Safety Committee continues to meet quarterly, with the next meeting scheduled for October the 10th. 2024, no issues have been reported to date, and a possible workplace violence and harassment course is being proposed for the fire department in the new year. There's no financial impact, and council has received the 3rd activity report. Fire services update for your information. Any questions or comments, or
Okay,
long-winded?
thanks, Chief Parker. That's a good report. Are there any questions for the chief? Councillor Kingma.
Thank you. That's a great report. A quick question. Do we invite Strathroy Caradoc to do these walkthroughs with the Holiday Inn?
Thank you, Garrett, Councillor Garrett Kingma. We did a year ago. We did not this time. We just did our own walkthrough in September here. But the first time we did it, we did have Strathroy invited. We did have a high-rise specialist team from London and Toronto meet the first time with us, and we all worked very well together.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief? Okay, seeing none, then we have a recommendation that council receive the 3rd quarter activity report for 2024 and fire services review update report for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, 7B, pre-budget approval regarding the self-contained breathing apparatus and fill station compressors. And once again, I'll turn the meeting over to Chief Parker.
The background on this is the self-contained breathing apparatus is one of the most critical pieces of firefighting equipment. To enhance firefighter safety, the National Fire Protection Agency has established regulations to set minimum design and performance standards for SCBA's. Fire departments are also required to implement a comprehensive respiratory protection program, Regulation 833, to safeguard firefighter health and safety. Given the nature of their work, firefighters may be exposed to hazardous airborne hazards such as particulates, smoke, dust, or fumes in oxygen deficient environments. According to the Occupational Health and Safety Act 714-94, the firefighter protective equipment regulations mandate that employers provide appropriate equipment to protect their employees. The self-contained breathing apparatus was outlined in the asset forecast for 2025 to ensure the fire department remains compliant with OSHA and NFPA standards. The decision to initiate a request for proposal in the last quarter of 2024 will help facilitate a smooth and timely transition. Additionally, a compressor's fill station will be needed to fill the new SCBA's with compressed air. Our current unit operates at 2,216 PSI, and although we initially thought the existing compressor purchased in 2013 would handle the new bottles, further investigation revealed it lacks the necessary capacity. The new standard SCBA bottles are filled to 4,500 PSI, providing firefighters with extended air time to reach safe zones and undergo decontamination, reducing the risk of carcinogens on their turnout gear and equipment. One notable feature of the new SCBA's is the end of service indicator, which is divided into 3 stages: 1/3 for task completion, 1/3 for structural exit, and 1/3 for emergency reserve and decontamination period. The new systems will also provide universal emergency breathing safety systems, removable soft goods for gross decon, and thermal imaging integrated into the mask. By making a decision now, the new SCBA's can be delivered in early 2025, allowing the department to begin training and familiarizing the team with the updated equipment incorporated into the air packs. Financial impact: the capital forecast identified the replacement of FCBA's and the compressor in 2025. The estimated capital cost is approximately $375,000, which would be fully funded through the township's life cycle management reserve fund. A recommendation that council approve the purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus equipment and the compressor fill station with the budget amount of $375,000 to be included in the 2025 municipal budget. And additionally, we just found out today that I'll maybe let Johnny speak to this, but we found some additional funding.
Sure. So, yeah, we just received information today that the ATCO, one of the wind farms in the township, are willing to donate to this project $40,000. And then as well, we have heard from Sun Canadian Pipeline, who's willing to donate also $25,000, which it definitely helps for some of these large purchases that we have.
For anyone watching, we're open for donations, more donations, just in case there's any question there. We'll take all comers. Are there any questions for Chief Parker? Councillor Brody.
Through Sue to Dan, just curious, just how much is the compressor? Like how much percentage is this whole project do the compressor?
Yeah, the compressor itself, it ranges a bit of the options, but it'll be about $50,000 roughly, yeah.
So basically grants are covering something that maybe
Yeah.
we didn't expect, which is nice. It's good.
For sure.
Any other questions for Chief? Councillor Nordoff.
Through the mayor to Chief Parker, how many packs were you expecting to order?
We based this on 15 packs. replacement. Little growth for the future, and then we do get a little bigger incentives if we buy all of our packs now with more bottles, so.
Counselor Kingma?
Yeah, so how do you decide that there's 15 that are going to be purchased? Is that to meet NFPA standards of some sort, or how does that work?
Currently we have 13 packs. It's more for my firefighters that are internal structure firefighters. The idea is we always have to have a team outside, a RIT team outside of 2 to 4 firefighters. It's just basically the number of firefighters that are on scene available for a structure fire. That's how we come up with 15. Currently, we have 6 packs in seats in the rescue, 3 in engine 1, and 2 others in rescue or engine 2, sorry. And we have 2 others in the side of rescue as well. So.
That just gives you 2 for a buck.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning too that the compressor was in our capital forecast anyway. I know it's being bumped up a year, but we were gonna spend the money. It's okay if we can't use our old one.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but the keeping our fire team safe and reducing carcinogens is kind of a priority here. So I'm glad to see that. Before we go to the recommendation, I just want to give Johnny a nod because I know that we tasked you at the management meeting of going looking for some money. So we appreciate your efforts. Thank you. You know where to find it, so that's always good. Okay, if there's no other questions for the chief, we have a recommendation that a council approve the purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus equipment and a compressor fill station with the budget amount of 375,000 to be included in the 2025 municipal budget. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is 7C, our capital budget to actual for Q3 2024, and I'll turn the meeting over to our treasurer, Johnny Pereira.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through the council, as you mentioned there, we have the Q3 capital report that outlines the township's capital projects for the year with spending to the end of September. This report does outline the status of our projects, project start dates, and updates on their progress. Staff does review their capital projects on a monthly basis, and any overages or significant overages are brought back to council with a financial strategy to address them. So to date, most of the township projects are actually complete. Just a number of them are just waiting for invoicing. I believe there's 2 on there that are outstanding, one being the lights at Cowood Park, and then the delivery of the tanker, which is expected in mid-2025. The recommendation is to receive the report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Morgan, do you want to add something before we go for any questions?
Yeah, if Coulter was here, he was going to use his report as just a quick opportunity to celebrate the great working relationship that they had with the county working on Mall Ferry Drive. I won't go into all the great comments I've heard over the last few months, but Coulter was extremely happy working with the county. The project got done generally on time. I think we're only 2 weeks behind, and the road is open.
Yeah, and if you haven't driven down it, it's pretty nice now, so that's all good. Yeah. Okay, any questions for Johnny? Okay, seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the capital budget to actual report for Q3 be received for information. Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next is the operating budget to actual for September 2024, and I'll turn it over again to our treasurer, Johnny.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through the council, pretty standard report. This one outlining the September 2024 operating budget actuals. Again, spending and revenue collection to date are on pace with the approved budget. There is really nothing out of the ordinary that hasn't been kind of indicated in past months. In the month of September, as we're getting closer to the end of the year, staff has been working on a forecast to see where we're expecting to land at the end of the year, just to make sure that our finances are in check and remaining to be within budget. We are anticipating a very small surplus this year, which is a good sign of tightening up our budget. Yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions. But the recommendation is to receive the report as presented.
Thank you, Johnny. Any questions for Johnny? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the operating budget to actual report for September 2024 be received for information. Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon, all in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is the 2025 OPP billing statement, and I'll turn this over to our treasurer, Johnny.
Thank you, Mayor Clerk. Through the council. Yeah, so we received the 2025 billing statement. As we always do, the township does receive this on an annual basis as an input for our 2025 budget. So based on the methodology used to calculate the annual billing, we are anticipating, or we are seeing a 13.8% increase over 2024. So the annual cost will be 534,514. So that's about $44,543 increase, which is significant. So a detailed breakdown is attached in the report there. I have since contacted the OPP just for some additional information on the significant increase. And one of the major factors is the new OPP collective agreement that was signed this past summer. So the recommendation is to receive the report and be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Johnny. Are there any questions? Councillor Kingma?
Thank you. This is painful. Is this one of these issues where we should have a delegation at Roma to maybe address this ongoing problem? This represents a 1% tax rate increase, and that's not even addressing our own needs at this point. So we're way behind the 8 ball just by getting this bill. It's becoming really hard to unpalatable. Let's put it that way.
For sure, it puts extra pressure. That's why we kind of all paused before we asked Johnny to speak about it, because none of us were happy when we got it. That's for sure. So would you want to make that a motion that you bring forth a recommendation to action this in some form? I am at the Police Service Board on Wednesday next week, and so there might be an opportunity under other business to challenge that, and I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, if we could go that route, I'd appreciate that. I think that's a good way to press forward. I think municipalities need to be on the ground floor when they come up with these fantastic numbers. Because right now, the Solicitor General and Ministry of Finance are negotiating contracts with the OPP, and we're paying the bill.
We're not at the table for sure.
We're not at the table.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a good takeaway. I'll bring that up at the meeting on Wednesday. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the 2025 OPP annual billing statement report be received. Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor, and that's carried. Next up, we are going to go into our closed session. We have a recommendation that council adjourn to closed session at 8:15 PM. Sorry, go ahead. Did I miss something?
No, I just
Okay.
want to point out a typo on my part.
Okay.
For the worst here. So that's actually close to a $65,000 difference. That was my mistake.
Okay.
That's 1.44%.
Yes. Yeah, my apologies.
It's still not a palatable number. Okay, we got the point. Okay, thanks for clarifying. All right, so we've moved into closed session at 8:15. Pursuant to section 239, 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following matters. A meeting of a council or local board or a committee of either of them may be closed to the public if the following conditions are being satisfied. The meeting is held for the purposes of educating or training the members. One, and number two, at the meeting, no member discusses or otherwise deals with any matter in a way that materially advances the business or decision-making of council, local board, or committee. This is under 2006 C32, Schedule A, Section 1031, Official Plan Review Education Session. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor McKinnon, seconded by Counselor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. We will now go into closed.